This is a follow-up on the video I put out this morning, and it's definitely more of the personal. So here I am going on a walk. I have all 5 cats with me. Also a little bit nervous out here because we had freezing mist. So every once in a while, it's super slippery. So, oh well. The cats. Can't see her. That's Pixie. Wrong with the black cat at night. Okay. So, in the previous video that I put out this morning, I was saying that I had therapy, and I was trying to convince myself to get the guts to talk to my therapist about the stuff that happened the last week. I did do that, and it was different. Bit demanding, isn't she? Oh, and there's Perry. And there's Poppy. Nope, that's Percy. Come on, Pear. Anyway, it went a little differently than I thought. Because it was this exact same thing. I mean, the point of me bringing it up, with twofold. One was because exactly like what I said in the previous video, it's like informational. Here it is. And also, maybe, to figure out what the hell he was talking about. Well, we never got to what the hell he was talking about. And actually, he didn't even remember the statement at all. And so he doesn't know what he was trying to say. And he also didn't notice at all that I was having the avoidant moment, which is actually reassuring because I always think I'm so weird and I must stand out when it pops up when I'm having that type of thing. And it also seems like I'm having this really, really long, awkward silence when, in fact, I guess, it really is happening laser fast. Because it was completely unnoticeable. He had no idea. To me, I'm sitting there thinking that my mind is blanking. And it's going on and on and on. And it wasn't. It was just like a flash, I guess. Again, I mean, I'm obviously not making a diagnosis of it myself. I'm not qualified. So I'm throwing around the phrase in a very uneducated manner. But it seems very PTSD. I've been told I have PTSD. Whatever, I don't know. It's that sort of thing where your brain gets caught in a loop. Anyway, so the result of my therapy was actually 3 separate revelations for my therapist. There's Perry running like a nut. I suppose I better wait up for him since he only has 3 legs to run on. Can you see him? Nope. Anyway, so the first one was, this is what the thought process is for a person who has avoidant personality disorder. that's what I expected. The second, which I was like, okay, was that I used the phrase normal people, which if you've seen my videos, yes, I use that phrase. And basically by normal people, I mean somebody without avoidant personality disorder. Well, actually, let me jump back. When I was describing this thought process, see, now here's my therapist is not that confident as a therapist. It's pretty new to it. But here's a clue on how to tell if you've got a good therapist or not. In the past, with more than 50% of therapists I've had, when I describe, oh, hello, cat number 6. Do you see them all down there? Those are all my actual cats, and this is the one that just likes me for some reason and climbs the trees. Anyway, when I describe what avoidance is like and what the process is like for somebody with, there she goes up the tree. She, he, I don't know, I haven't really gotten close enough to tell. I think it's a she because usually you can tell if it's a boy. Here comes Perry. When I describe avoidant personality disorder and what it's like when I'm going through, a remarkable amount of therapists are like, yeah, I know, you don't have to tell me. You don't need to describe it to me. And I'm like, okay, Mr. Book Learning. You know, or Miss, it's usually a woman. But most of my therapists have been women, so that's not really fair. Anyway, who really, they're very personally confronted by me describing it. But I know it's different. And so I want to hammer home the difference because, you know, as a good avoidant, I can fake being normal. And so if I say this is what's going on, and they're like, okay, cool, they don't understand. No, it's not cool. Things that would be, you know, the average thing that anybody would go through in their life is not good for me. Things people would think of as a positive thing can be, you know, really put me in a tailspin. And they forget. Well, my therapist was shocked that somebody in therapy would be like that, would presume that they, you know, understand the definition, therefore they understand where I'm coming from. And he's like, nope, on the contrary. He was really appreciating breaking that down. And again, that happens all the time. That's every single thing. And that's why I'm saying, I've always said, even if you give somebody a compliment, or me, if they give somebody with avoidant personality disorder a compliment, that is the thought process that you start to look at it like, what does this person actually mean? You know, really analyzing it for accuracy. And, you know, it is the same thought process you have when you get criticized, and so emotionally you react to it as if you've been criticized. In that case, you know, and I told him, you know, I'm trying to figure out, okay, did he actually mean this? And it's like, no, that's not what he said. My therapist is pretty blunt, and he doesn't beat around the bush, and he just says whatever he says. So I don't have to sit and think, what did this actually mean? You know? So it's a good match. Anyway, so that was the first thing that he was hearing really a breakdown, step by step. This is the thought process. This is what happens anytime somebody says something personal about me to me. And this is why, this crazy convoluted thing that when somebody says something nice to me, why I react as if they've criticized me. It's because it's the same thought pattern. And so I'm like totally reminded. And so I feel like it's criticism. And again, that sort of thing I'm describing is why people say PTSD. But again, not an expert, no idea if that's accurate at all. Anyway, so that was his first revelation. And the second was about the normal people, when I'm describing normal people. And he sort of finally got it. That he was thinking, I've seen him for over a year, that the point of me going to therapy is to get better and to not be avoidant. No, I have definitely come to grips with the idea that I have this personality disorder, and it's not going to change. And I've said, I don't know, a dozen times that the point of me being in therapy is to learn adaptive coping techniques and to learn to try to use adaptive coping techniques rather than maladaptive coping techniques. The difference, I think I've described it probably a dozen times easy, is, here comes a car, no cats, is basically, is it helpful and healthy? That's what an adaptive coping technique is. A maladaptive coping technique gets you over the stress, but then you've got after effects that make everything worse. I would currently say, truthfully, all this traveling I'm doing is probably a maladaptive coping technique because it's not really sustainable. And because it's not something I can do immediately. It's really good distraction right now. I was describing it as right now I'm going through some stuff. I'm going through some stuff with my kid, who I actually saw today, and he seemed really good. But it is very flip-floppy. He'll be like really good and normal, and it's heartbreaking because that's what I want him to be. And then he'll flip and he'll just be like demon child and hateful. So it's hurtful to have any interaction with him at all, because either he's being abusive or he's not being abusive, and I miss him terribly, and I wish he'd be like that all the time. And I worry about him. Anyway, and then the other thing is, I'm sure I've talked about it before, other than my son, the only real family member I have left, no cats up here, is my sister, who's an alcoholic, and she's a very active alcoholic. She's very proud of herself. She's gone from drinking a bottle of vodka a day to 2 to 3 bottles of wine. So that's an improvement. That's more socially acceptable, right? Anyway, 2 or 3 bottles of wine every single day. Anyway, it is coming up on the anniversary of my mother's death. And so, I mean, She is my sister. She's pure toxic sludge to me. But she's my sister, and she did lose her mother, and she's really feeling badly about it. So stupid me decided to talk to her to try to, tell her some things about, she has, moved away and hasn't really been hanging out with my mother like once every couple of years. For the last 10 years or so. So I was trying to tell her some things about the stuff that she's done in the last year of her life. And my sister just went batshit crazy toxic. First of all, she knows about my upcoming trip. And she's apparently, and she does this because she knows it's going to get to me. Apparently she's been talking to everybody that she knows, telling them how foolish I am, getting them to confirm that they think I'm foolish to go to Northern Africa, considering the political climate. In reality, of course, she's just fucking jealous that she can't do it herself. But, she wants to make sure that I know that everybody she knows thinks I'm an idiot. Whatever. And then she also is... She wants to get some of my mother's ashes to turn them into jewelry and wants me to facilitate this for her and get them and send them to her. And I'm like, hell no. That is not something I am willing to do at all. Get on a goddamn plane and do whatever she wants to do. And she's like, well, my mother told me this is what she wanted to have happen. I'm like, okay, whatever. How come I'm just hearing about it a year later? Why didn't you say something about it when she was just cremated and you were still in the area? So she's a lying bitch on top of everything else. And she's just doing everything she can to make me feel bad. So, yeah, I'm going through some stuff. I'm always going through some stuff. This is my life, is going through stuff. Every time I think it settles down, I think that is life. Going through stuff is life. Because even the positive things, if you look at the most stressful things are one of the top 5 is having a baby, which can be really the best thing, especially if you struggle to have one, can be the best thing that you've ever wanted in your entire life, and yet massively stressful. So that is life. Anyway, away from me and back to my therapist again. His second revelation of the day was that I don't see normal as better. Clearly I would never, ever, ever curse anybody with having avoidant personality disorder. It's not easy. It's not fun. But then again, I'm not trying to be normal. I don't want to be normal. Normal is boring. It really is. And everybody's got something going on in their life. So he thought that was the greatest thing ever, that it finally went into his head. When I say normal, that doesn't mean better. That means different. And it does sound really positive and go me and all this other stuff, but it's just, I have avoidant personality disorder. It sucks. It would be better if I never had it, but I'm not pining for a life without it. I wouldn't even know what it's like, I know for sure that there are examples of me exhibiting, the sort of nascent avoidant behaviors when I was in first grade. It's documented. And it actually does completely piss me off that it was never recognized as, well, this is a kid who's, because it's clear as a bell, and nowadays, but 40 years ago is a different matter, clear as a bell that I was exhibiting behaviors that were classic, abuse and neglect. behaviors. So I'm like, God, somebody should have noticed. Somebody should have noticed. And because it could have not happened that I was avoidant. Anyway, I mean, that's different. That's not me getting down on myself. I mean, this is really weird. This is a really weird line to have. I mean, it's not like I need to get more self-esteem, because I'm not going to. But this is the way it is. And I have accepted it. There's Pops. It's not going to change, and I don't want to waste energy changing it. Because it's impossible. Like I said, if it would be like if I took Perry, my 3-legged cat, and he and I tried to climb Everest. He's not going to be able to climb Everest. He's a cat with 3 legs. It ain't happening. He doesn't care. I don't care. This is why I'm not trying to have relationships. I'm not going whining in therapy about, oh, well, I need to get friends and I need to find a partner and all this other crap. I don't talk about that stuff in therapy. I talk about, how can I make enough income to survive? How can I cope with the stress of what's going on with my kid better? That sort of stuff. So that was number 2 that he really, really understands, I think, now. That's not the focus. Trying to do these things that I can't do is not the focus. And it isn't that I'm down on myself. That, if I just felt better about myself somehow, then I would suddenly go out and get these types of... No, that's not it. I mean, it just is. Like there's air around us and we breathe it. It just is. I'm not going to suddenly snap my fingers and be able to breathe underwater. It just is. And he did finally, I think, understand that after a year plus. And his third revelation, because we were talking about my sister, and we were talking about my mother, is that he said that I'm angry about what happened. And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm angry at all of it. Like I just said, why didn't anybody notice it? It's pretty wrong how she was treating me. Oh, here comes my boy. Better wait for him. Come on, Pear. This is 100% true. It's pretty wrong that nobody noticed it. 100% true. And yes, I'm not seething about it. It's not like something that I need to exercise. I have a legit reason to be angry at these people for things that they did and didn't do. Okay. But what his revelation was he said that he was feeling transference. Which, okay, kind of gutsy for the therapist to point this out. And I think that he told me just because he's like an honest type guy, but also, I was saying something that was maybe a little hard for me earlier, bringing this all up again. And so he's just doing the same thing. He said that, me describing my family and how I grew up, how I was treated, was triggering to him because it reminded him in a lot of ways of how things that he had to deal with when he was growing up. And so what I was talking about was really similar to things that he had. I mean, difference, of course, is that I have a genetic predisposition, whatever it is, toward having avoidant personality disorder or any personality disorder, and he clearly didn't have that. I mean, my sister didn't get the personality disorder gene, but she definitely got the alcoholism gene, and that's her way she coped. Anyway, so he thought that was really interesting and gave him quite a bit to think about. And I think it also, again, helped him understand a personality disorder. People with personality disorders, unfortunately, what they go through is not unique. And it's not just people with personality disorders that have, these horrible, horrible backgrounds. And sometimes it can be kind of average. And yet, because of the genetics, they develop a personality disorder. And because they don't get any support, they don't develop adaptive coping techniques. And, eventually it gets to the point where, there's somebody coming with a dog. It sort of fuses with their actual personality or overlaps their personality, and they're stuck. They have personality disorder from that point on. So he's going to work on it himself, apparently. And he's asked me to write a letter to my mother. Yikes. Anyway, I have to go down this hill and up the other one, and it is slippery. So I'm going to stop this here so that I don't slip and kill myself thinking about the camera. Plus I have to collect these cats. The two girls, I'm sure, are smart enough to be home already. They're like, forget this. Now I got to collect my boys. Anyway, so that's the update of what happened after my therapy session. Bye.